Although the exact date of his birth is unknown, Canute was the son of Sweyn Forkbeard, the King of Denmark, and a Polish princess. Canute came from a long line of Scandinavian leaders, as his father, Sweyn Forkbeard, was the son and heir of King Harald Bluetooth, as previously mentioned in earlier videos on this channel. The fate of Canute, following in his father's footsteps, seemed inevitable, and he quickly became an impressive Viking warrior, described as handsome and possessing strong leadership skills. As Viking power grew exponentially, Sweyn Forkbeard began to look further afield to expand his realm of influence. Turning his attention to England, he set his sights on the Saxon king, Ethelred of Wessex, and with the support of his son, Canute, successfully claimed the English throne. Having usurped the English kingdom, Sweyn's reign unfortunately proved short-lived, as he passed away on February 3, 1014, creating a power vacuum that Ethelred was determined to fill upon his return from exile in Normandy. This created a divided realm in England, with some factions supporting Ethelred's return, while others swore allegiance to Canute. During this time, Ethelred managed to gather sufficient support from the upper echelons of Anglo-Saxon society and promised, upon his return, to rule with greater fairness and to forgive those who had submitted to Viking rule during this period of domination. Without delay, Ethelred launched his attack, confident in the fact that he had the necessary support to reclaim his throne. At this juncture, Canute realized the need for more time and warriors, so he left England to develop a more effective resistance and return with a stronger force. Meanwhile, Ethelred carried out an attack that devastated Danelagh, dealing a severe blow to the Kingdom of Lindsey for supporting the Vikings. While back in Denmark, Canute prepared for a counterstrike. In the summer of 1015, he returned. With renewed strength, bolstered by his nearly 10,000 troops, many of whom were mercenaries, Canute returned to England and successfully conquered the country. After 14 months of war and despite the staunch resistance of Edmund Ironside, Ethelred's son, Canute's victory was secured. On April 23, 1016, Ethelred passed away, leaving Edmund Ironside as his successor. These power struggles would soon be resolved in a series of military confrontations culminating in the Battle of Ascension, where Edmund was defeated, and a subsequent treaty was negotiated. As part of this peace agreement, the country would be divided, with Edmund retaining control of Wessex while Canute held the rest of England. This arrangement would be maintained until the death of one of the parties, at which point the survivor would gain control of all the lands. Canute did not have to wait for long, as Edmund died on November 30, 1016, leaving Canute as the ruler of the entire England. Then, on Christmas of that year, the coronation took place, and he finally became King Canute, ruling over a unified England. With the English crown now in his possession, Canute entered into a marriage that would further consolidate his power by marrying Emma of Normandy, the widow of Ethelred. In 1017, he married Emma and quickly had 2 children, Harthacnut and a daughter named Gunhild. In the process and to further solidify his sovereignty, he also killed Eadwig Atheling, Ethelred's son, thereby eliminating any new threats to the crown. Meanwhile, Harthacnut would be chosen as his apparent heir, despite Canute having older children from previous relationships who also had a claim to the throne. Additionally, Emma's children with Ethelred, Alfred Atheling, and Edward, the Confessor, were forced into exile, just like Edmund Ironside's sons. With potential contenders to the throne temporarily dealt with, Canute maintained his military infrastructure, which included keeping 40 ships and their crew to support England's defenses, while also extracting a significant amount of gold from England to pay his army, which returned to Denmark. Now as King of England, it was important for Canute, as a Viking ruler, to create stability and a unifying presence amidst potential divisions. Thus, he held a meeting in Oxford, where it was agreed that the English and Danes would live together in peace under the laws of King Edgar. Having only recently consolidated his power in England, Canute quickly turned his attention to Denmark, where in 1018, King Harald III passed away, leaving Canute to claim the Danish throne for himself. In order to further consolidate his royalty, he made Harthacnut the heir apparent of Denmark, while Ulf Jarl acted as regent. By 1028, his control had extended even further as he also became the King of Norway, thereby presiding over an extensive North Sea empire. As part of his reign, he promoted Christianity in all his kingdoms after his own conversion to the faith. He was the first Viking leader to be recognized by the Pope as a Christian king. Then, in 1027, he embarked on a pilgrimage to Rome, demonstrating his faith and piety. Upon his return from Rome, after witnessing the coronation of the Holy Roman Emperor, Canute referred to himself as King of all England, Denmark, and Norway, and also part of Sweden. Such was his power and governance over a large part of northwestern Europe that Canute achieved a high level of unity and stability among his realms. In terms of administration, Canute chose Wessex as the seat of government, while the East Anglian area was governed by a deputy. Another important figure in the balance of power was the cunning character of Edric Striona, who plundered much of the country and fought in decisive battles on behalf of Canute. His loyalty to the cause was recognized by Canute, who granted him the title of Earl of Mercia. However, this reward was not deemed substantial enough by Edric, and he soon became entangled in conflict with Canute. Edric claimed to have played a much more significant role in Canute's victory, as his decision to betray Edmund Ironside indeed ensured Canute's triumph. In response to Edric's claims, Canute acknowledged that his betrayal of Edmund could very well be replicated with him, and thus, Edric's protests left Canute with no choice but to kill him. His body was thrown into the River Thames, and his head was placed on a stake on London Bridge. Canute dealt with threats to his reign in England with a firm hand, exiling or, in some cases, killing his rivals. Over time, Canute established a more stable form of governance that allowed Saxon and Viking communities to coexist both socially and politically. For this reason, as King of England, he was viewed positively, an image that was aided by his closer ties with the Church, the introduction of the laws of King Edgar, and his policies aimed at strengthening the currency. These measures, combined with the inclusion of Saxons and Vikings in his royal court, would bolster his popularity and thus secure his royalty. During his reign as King of England, as well as of Denmark and Norway, Canute succeeded in the mission his father had strived to achieve to rule a vast North Sea empire, united under his governance. When he passed away on November 12, 1035, Canute left behind significant responsibility for his son, Harthacnut, not only to rule Scandinavia but also to maintain control of England. Only time would tell if any of his descendants could follow in his footsteps. And what did you think of King Canute's journey? Write in the comments, as we would like to know your opinion. It will be most welcome.